up. It's been taken about 2 minutes. Yeah, it looks like it's okay. So let's see. It's good to meet you. Hello, Sophia.
Yeah, we met a while ago. I did an interview with you a while ago, maybe a couple of years ago.
You did? I don't know.
Yeah, but you talk to so many people.
Yeah, I don't remember that. It must have been when we were doing a whole lot, because I usually remember, but now and then I don't.
I had another name. I've changed my name.
Oh, okay. What was the name? What was the name?
My previous name was Hilde Troset.
Yes, I remember you.
Yeah.
I remember you. Okay, so I actually I went to your page, and sometime I think I went to get a picture. Yeah, last night, and I saw you were doing a video. So I said, oh, I'm gonna watch your video while I'm working, but it was in another language, and I just started laughing. It was funny. Let me see. Let me see if it's working here. Let me see. Yeah, no. Oh, that's weird. Oh, shoot. Hang on. I messed up. Oh, God. I messed up. Okay, so I'm going to have to change the name. I have the wrong name on there. Let me change the name. I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, sometimes I forget. Well, because I was, okay, so Sophia. Sophia. Alila, right?
Yeah.
Alila, Sophia Alilia. So I tagged you on the main one, and then I'll go back and fix the rest of them. Darn it, that makes me mad. I'll go fix the rest of them after the show. So you were Hildy. Okay.
Yeah, I was.
And now you're Sophia.
Yeah, I was in a meditation, and I was just asked if I was ready to change my name. And then I asked what name, and I just saw in my third eye the whole name spelled out in capital letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where do you live?
I live in Norway.
Oh, wow. Okay. In Oslo? Are you in Oslo?
No, I'm further up. I'm in Trondheim, in the middle part of Norway. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a pretty good community in Norway.
Yeah.
We have like a lot of friends in Stavanger, and like when we first started, we had a lot of friends there, and then some other ones around the country. I don't know the country, the geography that well.
No, but the main cities are Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, and Stavanger. Yeah.
So it's good to see you. I'm sure that everything's just been going real smooth for you during the 2021. No problems.
It's like a roller coaster, isn't it?
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
They were still here.
Yeah, really. It's amazing.
I think we're moving pretty fast, though, don't you?
Yeah, it's a fascinating ride. It's just, yeah, really, yeah.
Well, you have a smile on your face, so that's good to have a smile. That's one way to tell if I'm really all right. You know, can you smile? Can you laugh? I mean, it
kind of it changes all the time. I can be very happy and then suddenly something hits me, and I just need to go within and figure out a little bit what's going on and allow it to transform. And then, but it's happening so much faster than it used to. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It is. We process things quicker.
Yeah. So are we live or what?
Yes, we're live. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just we've got it.
Just
I don't know.
To know.
Well, we're streaming on quite a few platforms, but I've only got the my page on Facebook up just so I can see a few comments. Not that I'll probably look at them, but it's nice to have there and just see the people that are here. Yeah, so we're here. I don't know. What do you feel like talking about today?
Well, actually, what I read the story of your wife, or Morgan Lee, where she
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
she
You
was
want to
very
talk about?
transparent about
Yes.
her experiences with sexual trauma as a child.
Yeah.
And she was putting like a little note under there because a lot of people had responded, and she was putting a note that if somebody wanted to share their stories, um, we could let her know. And I felt that it would be good to share my story, because my intention with that is that it's good to be really transparent on what's going on, and that it's really possible to transform these traumas. So and for me, it's like I could have written about it, but in a way, I'm more comfortable with showing my face, and also I think it's good, because a lot of times we read about sexual traumas.
Yeah.
However, I find it really powerful that we can really step onto the stage, and not as a victim, just
Yeah.
as a human being who has gone through sexual trauma.
Yes, I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful things that a brother or a sister can offer the
Yeah.
community, the world, because this is the great unveiling, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that, and of course, the sexual distortion and the sexual violation and all the crap, all the stuff. It's in our it's in our most powerful creative area, right? The
Yeah.
sacral. So yeah, I'm all ears. But I forgot that that's what you were going to talk about. And
Well, that's fine.
no, I'm serious. I feel like you do. I appreciate the fact that you want to stand up. In fact, when I went to your page, I saw a post 2 or 3 posts down, and and it was about sexual abuse awareness. So I
Yeah.
don't know where you
Yeah.
want to start, or
Yeah,
what's it?
once in a while I put out a little bit, but I haven't been like an advocate about it. I've pretty much worked with my own traumas and transformed them as much as possible. So I'm not like a very visible advocate. At the same time, when I read the story from the very, very transparent, honest story from Morgan, I felt like, you know what, it's time to stand up, and it's time to really show that this is happening, and it's happening to a lot of people, and it's time to get it up and out into the light so we can transform it, because it
Right.
really isn't necessary for us to keep it with us without getting it into the light. I think it's really, really, and some of us are more or less forerunners, and I think it's important to be the forerunners. So it might be easier for other people to talk about it, to accept it, and to talk about it, and to, in a way, put it behind and live life. So my story, it's amazing, because I didn't remember anything. It was all suppressed. So I was nearly 50 years old before it started to come up. And I needed to meet a very, very nice man, a very, very loving, gentle man with a lot of feminine energy before I started to remember. So we were friends for a good while, maybe 2 years, and then we went into a relationship. And in the beginning, it was like, seemed like a regular sexual relationship. And then suddenly my body started to react. And I wasn't prepared at all. My body really started talking. Suddenly, if he touched my hips, I would get these reactions, like I would start shake. My body would shake. And I would just end up being more and more sensitive. And I had no control over my body. It would just go into spasm, and I knew it was my nervous system, and then my arms would start to move up in front of me, and it was like I was trying to protect myself. And he was being wonderful. He was being very nice. And suddenly we're both very sensitive. And then suddenly, and then he would just look at me. He would just say, breathe and look me into my eyes. And then he said, what is it? What is it that you need? And what's going on? And he would just repeat, what is it that you need? And then suddenly I would just look at him. I would say, don't touch me. Don't touch me. And it was like he was, it was like I was just taken back. And then he was the abuser. So I would try to push him away and ask him to go away, and I would just turn around. And then this happened several times. And luckily, I've been meditating for many years, and I get really clear pictures in my third eye. So I would, when my body started to react like this, I would just start to breathe and go within, and then pictures would start to come. And I would ask, and this beautiful, beautiful, beloved companion that I'm very lucky to still have, he would ask me, where are you? Do you get any? What is your age? He would ask me questions, and then suddenly I would start to get information, and also see in my third eye. And I was a very little girl, and it was really scary to start to see it, because I was only 3.5 years old. And then I would start to smell. I would recognize the smell. And then I would start to see a sweater. And I just knew it was his sweater. And then I would start to see part of his face, but I just couldn't take it in. Mm. And my beloved companion would say to me, you need to trust what you remember. It's really, really essential that you trust this, that you don't try to push it away. And but for some reason I needed some kind of confirmation. So I went to a couple of, to a therapist and a healer, and I didn't say anything, and they didn't know me at all. And a couple of them would actually ask me, were you sexually abused as a child? And then, I knew it was the confirmation, because I doubted I thought I was imagining things. So I doubted, even though my body was very, very clear. And then I started to realize that I was married for more than 20 years, and I've had different boyfriends throughout my life. And I started to realize that I had not been in my body when I were in sexual intimacy. I would just unconsciously disconnect from my body and just leave. And neither my husband nor any other boyfriends or lovers, they didn't say anything. I don't know if they even knew what was going on. I certainly didn't know what was going on, but I was very disconnected without knowing it. So it's been very interesting. It was like, and then I started to, work a lot more with this together with my beloved companion. And I also did a webinar with a wonderful, wonderful healer in Sedona. Her name is Sandra Rollos.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah. So I managed to get rid of body shame and things like that. And then I meditate pretty much every morning, and I think it was around a year ago, I was told by my soul to tell this to my family, because this happened in where I grew up, in my bedroom. I shared a bedroom with my brother in a bunk bed. I was in the lower bed and he was high up. And my mom, usually, we were 5 kids. I'm number 4, the only daughter. And usually, if she needed a babysitter once in a while, she would have like a woman come. But once in a while, if it was crisis, she would have the son of a housekeeper to come. Because by the time I was born and my little brother, the economy was much better in the family, so my mom could get some support because she was home with 5 kids. And my parents are very, very nice people. My dad just passed a few months ago. So last year I was told by my soul that part of my healing was actually to tell my family what had happened to me. So I live very far away from my parents. So I called my parents and I talked to my mom, and she got totally shocked, and I'm sure she blamed herself. And I said, I know this is really rough, and I know that I don't blame you or anybody in the family. The thing is that I need to let you know that it's part of my healing. And 1 or 2 days later, my dad called and he yelled at me. He was so scared because my mom, it was so hard on my mom that she was, and they were really old, and he yelled at me, and it ended up me saying that I need you to believe me. I cannot I cannot require it from you, but that's what I need. I need you to believe me, even though it seems totally crazy. I don't know how long the sexual abuse was ongoing, because I have no idea. I know it happened. I know who it was. I know I've seen part of what he did to me, and it really wasn't nice for a little 3-year-old. And but my parents didn't believe me. My brothers didn't believe me. I ended up sending a letter where I explained a little bit more, and how I had gone to therapists and healers, and how I had very, very, very beautiful support from my beloved companion. And none of them believes me. And I think for me, it's really important. I'm not sharing this because I want to appear as a victim. I'm sharing this with the intention that it was like I was re-traumatized when they didn't believe me. And it's really challenging to go through a thing like this and not be believed by your own parents and your own siblings and sister-in-laws and whoever family it is. And I ended up actually saying that I need a break from the whole family. And they tried to make up stories why it couldn't have happened and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I know that this happened to me because my body is talking so clearly. So, and I've read books about this. After this came up to me, I've read books. One book is called Body Talks. It's an amazing book. I've read different other books too. And for me, it was really a very essential part of my healing to talk about this, tell my parents, write this down and give it to my parents and my brothers, and to tell my sons. I have 2 grown-up sons, to tell them and to tell my very close friends. It's been a lot of healing. It's like I've accepted my own past story, and I can move more and more forward in my life. So
wow, that's a lot to take in. That's,
yeah.
I mean, that's not even, you hear stories, obviously, your whole life, you hear stories about this type of thing. And most of the ones you hear about are women. I've talked to some men that it's happened to, but you hear about them going to their family and they'll want to sweep it under the rug, or but this is a little bit different because you're what, you were 50 and your parents are older, but it's still the same energy of not a,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, do you think that, because there's like that old saying that a mother always knows, like a mother always knows about her children, like she knows when they're not telling the truth or when they're telling the truth. But like, do you think that when families react this way, that they know, they just don't want to know?
Yes.
Like they don't want to acknowledge it because of fear, I guess.
Yes.
But what I'm like, I could understand the fear if it was, say, a family member. Not that that makes it right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I could understand the fear, but I don't really understand the fear if it was like in this situation, somebody that came from the outside, like what, I don't know, what do you think they're afraid of?
Very good question. Well, my mom had this housekeeper, and she was very trusted and a very, very nice woman. So it was her son, and he was, I would guess, around his early 20s. So my mom trusted, of course, the housekeeper because she was a very, very nice woman. What I've been told is that he realized later on in life that he was homosexual. And my oldest son, he's openly gay, and I talked to him about it, and he said, because my family says, oh, he couldn't have been interested in you because you were a little girl. And my oldest son would say, Mom, it has nothing to do with it, because maybe actually he was a confused young man trying to figure out his sexuality. So it doesn't really have anything to say if you're this or that in your sexuality. And it's nothing wrong being confused with your sexuality. That's fine. It could be anybody. But to abuse a little child, that's very wrong. But back to your question, I think my family is a very successful family.
I see.
My father was a very successful businessman, and all my 4 brothers are very successful. And my mom has, she's been very successful as a mother and a wife. And so what I've done is to kind of, how do you say, it's like I've put a really bad reputation to the family.
Yeah, I see.
So and I think that if a family is very successful and they want to keep everything together, and then they have something like that hit their heads when they're,
Yeah, it's like a double trauma. I mean,
yeah.
it's obviously I mean, so do you mind me asking you, like, how have you dealt with that? Where are you at with that? Do you feel like you've been able to, I don't know what word to use. I mean, clear it? I don't know how you could clear it. I can't even relate to this, but I mean, have you had to take that on and try to integrate it or clear it, or you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, like Morgan wrote that she was told that this experience was part of being able to have some kind of a sexual education. I don't remember her words because her writing is just amazing, but like you end up having some kind of a sexual education, or like you have something to bring out to others, to support others. That really resonated with me. One thing is the openness about it, to be really just open and raw about it. The other thing is to, of course, my experience is my personal experience, so I don't have any answers for anybody else how to transform it and clear it. I can be quite impatient sometimes when it has to do with evolving. I like to evolve really fast. I've also been very, very ill for many years, and I've transformed that. With this situation, I get really impatient once in a while because I feel it takes time. But I mean, it's just time. I mean, the soul doesn't care. So where I'm at now is like, I think my beloved partner said it really, really beautifully. He said a little while ago, it's like you have to go all the way back to when you were a child and go back into your innocence, and then to go into your puberty, and to kind of, it's like a reset in a way for me.
Right.
So when we are together, he is holding space for me. So when we are lying next to each other, if I start to feel that my nervous system or my body is starting to react, he wants me to tell that this is border. This is no, not this is okay. This is not okay. And it's actually, I have no idea how this is for other people. So this is my personal experience. But it's like it's like I'm in a reset. It's like I'm exploring sexuality from the start.
Wow.
And in one way, it's really beautiful because I feel it's part of sacred sexuality. I feel like it's a beautiful way to explore all over again, instead of going into the old patterns. I'm not saying it's something wrong with the old sexual patterns, but it's a good possibility or occasion or whatever for me to, and for him to co-create something totally different.
Yeah.
And I'm very sensitive, and he's very sensitive. So it's like, and it's so different. It's not like there's no focus on penetration or orgasm, or it's all kind of back to a very slow, gentle way of, and very, 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 deep connection. It doesn't really have to be much happening in a way.
Right. It's true intimacy.
Yeah.
True vulnerability, but not like, but healthy vulnerability. Like, wow, you said a lot. So, I mean, like the intimacy, because it's interesting because you actually discovered this with your partner. And so he's actually been there with you through the whole thing, which is amazing because it's almost like he's going through it with you.
Yeah,
I guess he is, really. I mean, that's like amazing. And you mentioned the old patterns, like the old performance, that we all thought that's what it was supposed to be like, right? Does that even type of thing even occur anymore? Or is it always in this way? This slow, sacred. I'm not saying that, like you said, there's nothing wrong, but is it mostly becoming just this space of this intimacy that you're describing, this deep connection?
Yeah, here and now, that's what we're getting more and more into, because my body is like so honest and so honest and so clear, and my ego, and I'm sure his ego too, but especially my ego is like, oh no, but I just want it to be a little bit like it was before, and I want, and but my body is telling me something else.
Yeah.
And also I'm realizing I'm listening a lot more to my breath.
Okay.
So as long as my breath is really deep and I'm very relaxed when he's next to me and he's touching me and I'm touching him. It's especially when he's touching me, because when I'm touching him, I have some kind of a control. But when he's touching me, I get a lot more into the vulnerability. So
did you have
if my breath gets short, starts to go short like this, then I know I
then
need.
Something's up.
Yeah.
Did you have to, it sounds like you started over, like your partner said. Did you have trouble? Because you mentioned when you are touching him, that it's not, your body's evidently not reacting in the nervous system isn't reacting, or the breath's not getting quickening. Did you have to start over with him as well? I mean, were you afraid to touch him? Did you have any difficulties at all, or has it just been when he's touching you?
No, it's been both ways.
Both ways.
So it's like it's no system. It is just like going with the flow, and then he's telling me, you need to be very honest. You need to let me know. Even though he can feel it and he can sense it, because he's very sensitive, he says it's for you to set the boundaries so that you can learn to respect your own body. Because what I also recognized in Morgan's text, or in her beautiful way of telling about her trauma, sexual trauma, is that she wrote about, she realized that she had just didn't know, I don't know how to say it, if I find the English words, she didn't even know what it meant to be in like a very balanced sexual intimacy.
Right.
And it was, for me, it was like so much healing in reading that, because that's what I had also remembered when I started to get all these memories. But when I looked back at my marriage for more than 20 years, I had just been like, you can just take what you want. So any man could just, when I was with a man, I've been very careful with men, because I think I got really scared after this thing with the babysitter. But so I haven't allowed whoever man to get very close to me, sexual intimacy. At the same time, when I then really trusted a man and we would get very close, I just had no idea that what I did is just serve yourself, because that's the only thing I knew.
I remember reading something years ago, like 30 years ago, and it really stuck in my head. And it was saying that your first sexual encounters, like set the stage for everything.
Mm.
I never thought about it in the context of a child being molested. You know, I thought about it for myself was the first thing, you know, but I was like a lot of young boys and, you know, got a Penthouse magazine and looking at pictures or reading stories. But I can't, and, you know, then you would think about maybe like I knew a girl that literally the first time she ever had sex, she got pregnant. You know, that must have been, you know, like a big thing in terms of her intimacy from that point on. But I never thought about it in terms of a child. And then like what you're saying, because what you're saying is in your 20-year marriage and basically you were just doing what was happened before.
Yeah. So that's why I you know, it's like a reset. And even though I feel it takes time, I mean, it's just time. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating journey to be able to deprogram kind of what sexuality is for me and for me and my beloved companion to be able to explore in a totally kind of new way. Yeah. And to bring in all the respect for each other, because even though I'm sitting here talking as a woman, I mean, I just know in my heart that both women and men, we have sexual traumas in certain ways, yeah, more or less, and we've been so programmed, we've been so kind of disillusioned about what sex is and what intimacy is, because yeah, intimacy is a lot of things, much more than sex.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's like yeah, it's like starting all over again in a way.
Wow. And you said that a little bit more, like you said, you have time. Yeah. So it's this is, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect the, I mean, you know, the code that you and your partner are carrying, because you found out together, right? That's just, you know, I mean, how often does that happen? And not only that, because I'm sure that's happened before with people, but how many of them were able to stay together? But he was clued in, right? I mean,
and he says that he's totally holding the space for me. He has this amazing energy and a lot of feminine energy, like really embracing and being very compassionate, and he is very clear that there are men out there besides him. There are men out there that are able to hold space for women who are going through, or have been going through in their past sexual trauma. And that's also something I find really essential to bring forward as a message, because there are men out there that are absolutely capable and willing to hold space.
Wow. And like, even because it makes you wonder, like, you didn't remember anything until you were 50. I wonder how many never remember.
Yeah.
And then what if, you know, I totally agree with you. I think obviously potentially it's every man, right? But I'm just like picturing, what if you didn't remember? you know, and he wasn't sensitive. You know, he didn't have that, you know, and what would have happened? Like, I mean, and I'm only saying this like in terms of like how this has affected. I mean, I guess the sexual distortion has affected everyone.
Yes.
Okay. So then you think about how many relationships has it affected? How much blame has it caused? How much shame has it caused? How many fights has it caused? You know, I mean, a lot of times people talk about the work is never done, even here, even if we ascend. There's always expansion. We move to the next incarnation or whatever. But in terms of like this incarnation, it sounds like you mentioned about the time thing. I have time. Do you feel like that you'll get to a place where you'll be totally clear?
As a human being, I have no idea. My soul knows.
Your soul.
Yeah.
I had this thought in the last 24 hours, and I was thinking about trauma, victim consciousness, in my own. So, you know, I always go to myself, right? And just, you observe things, you see things, and then you say, okay, you take that in, and you, what am I missing, or whatever. And I was thinking about that term where, and I've said it many times, you know, I can't do this because it hurts my soul. And I thought about that and I went, wait a minute, I can't hurt my soul.
No.
It's the human that's hurt.
My soul,
right.
My soul can never be broken.
That's right.
My soul can never be broken. Never, never, never. It's the human part of me that experiences and goes into different kinds of reactions, bodily, emotionally, mentally. The soul is never broken.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what I came to. And I was like, I started thinking about different things, and I thought, even because like there's a lot of talk about, you know, codependent relationships and toxic relationships, and you know, giving away your power, and someone's taking your power, and I was thinking to myself, you know, even someone, let's just say, even someone that's in a situation where they're giving their power away, and I've done that many times, you know, in my life, like we all have.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, we might look at that person and go, God, they're just not awake, or they're just not standing in their power, or whatever, or you know what I mean? Or they're not working on themselves, or whatever. But the soul knows exactly what it's doing. The soul has created that experience, and that experience is serving that person. So that's one of the things I came up with. And then the other thing I was thinking was like, you know what? The human can be from the human perspective, the most horrible scenario. Yeah. Like, can be losing all of its human power. But like you said earlier, you can never take the soul. And to me, that's a very intriguing set of thoughts, because if we're integrating the soul into the human, and in my opinion, the human into the soul, right? I mean, like the humans becoming the soul, but the soul's trying to get used to being human. It's kind of, you know what I mean? But if that's happening, will the human get to a point where, I guess that's 5D, or what people want to call higher dimensional frequency? It's pretty fascinating though, because we've been so human, right? Like almost like it was a bad thing. or something like everybody says, hey, get me out of here. Right. I mean, I wanted to leave twice last week. I was like, I'm done. I want to go, and, but I guess what I'm trying to say is the experience that's the, I don't know. It's almost like we have to gain reverence, not have to, but that we will gain reverence for every single part of our journey. Yeah. Like one's connected to the other. Like I'll just use these terms, like how can you ascend if you don't appreciate everything that you've had? That sounds like a judgment, but it's not a judgment. It's like a mathematical equation, right? I mean, one is directly related to the other. Man,
and also it's, when it doesn't matter when it was, because it's been like this part of the journey with the sexual trauma and going through it and remembering it has been going on for like 5, 6, 7 years or something. And I remember at a certain, when I started to see the face of the babysitter, I would have anger come up and really like, I'm going to figure out where he lives and I'm going to talk to him. And my human self was like really fighting. So I went to Google him and I didn't find him. And then I sat down in meditation and I asked if his soul would come and communicate with me. And it really happened.
Really?
Yeah. And I've had experience with that quite much, that it's possible. So I kind of explore it. And I could feel all the love from him, all the love from his soul, because he passed over. By coincidence, somebody told me that he had transitioned. Okay. And because I knew who he was, but I couldn't find him. I couldn't find him because I didn't know his real first name, because he had a nickname. And then I just said, okay, I invite you in if you would like to communicate with me. And his soul came, and he came with so much love and so much respect. And I would be in meditation and I would feel him as a soul. And after that, it just took me a very short time I totally forgave him. It was like it took me maybe a week or something, because I felt who he was as a soul. So it was like, this doesn't matter. It's okay. And I just...
That's profound.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And also my dad, he the last call I had with him, or phone call, that was when I had told about this trauma, and he felt really to protect my mom, because she really went into a state and felt, I'm sure, blame and shame and whatever, guilt. And he was yelling at me, and that was the last phone call I had with him, and before he went into his transition. And then my one brother called me and said, now your dad is going to transition. If you want to be with him, you need to come now. And I went into meditation and I asked myself, what would be the highest and best for me? And his soul just came in and he said, dear daughter, there's no need for you to come and sit with me. And he was with me through those 7-8 days before he transitioned, and after he passed, he would also be with me in meditation. And it was like his love, his soul essence would be stronger and stronger the closer he came to his transition. And then when he transitioned, he would come with just all this love. I was just thrown back in meditation. I started crying, and he said, I'm so proud of you for who you are. And I was like, what? Yeah, that must really be his soul, because it was just like the biggest flash of light. Wow. So it was so easy for me to forgive him too. it was like, yeah, you know, he yelled at me. I didn't have and he was like, you don't have to come and sit with me while I'm dying. I know who you are. You can just stay where you are. I went to
you're already with them,
yeah,
right?
you know, we
But
were communicating while he was dying.
yeah, it's fascinating too, because so much of the last 10 years, I mean, I've been in these communities for 10 years, I guess, and a lot of people honor around 2012, you know, some before, some after, but there was always this element of, you know, in the woo woo, you know, and in the information that we could fix ourselves, right? Like if I do this, then everything will be perfect, you know. And I in the early days, I remember people coming on the show and I said, "Do you ever get triggered?" They're like, no, I never get triggered. And I'd be like, okay. And I believed, you know, I didn't know, you know, I was this 400 first 400 interviews or whatever, but but what I'm saying is that what I find so fascinating is like this experience you're having with your father and with what we call the perpetrator, the experience you're having with your partner, actually both doing it step by step by step, and having all this code and all this information, yet the human is still working it out, taking its time, which means to me, this is what it means. It means to me that this human is being real and this human is being upfront. I am not healed. And that's okay. I am healing. You know, and I'm saying this because not just in this example, but in a lot of examples in our lives, we've had this attitude that I'm okay, you know, and I keep saying this the last few months. Ask me if I'm okay. I'm going to tell you I am not okay.
Yeah.
I'm becoming okay every single day. And it's just like what you talk about with the intimacy. We're all, you know, it's like we have to get rid of the attachment that we're okay, because we're not okay if we're going to, you know, let's not get all caught up in the literal, but you know what I'm saying? You're like the shining example of that.
And we're not broken, but yes, we need to heal from the experience, the human experience that we've been through. And so, you know, and in my truth or my experience, it takes time. I used to be very ill also, and it took me many years to get out of that. And I have no clue why I felt so ill, and I have no clue why it took me so long. And I used to mentalize it. Now I'm more like, I'm stepping more and more into being an observer. I observe. It's like I stand outside of myself, and it's like, okay, I have this experience now. Oh, I have this. Okay, and the human is reacting like that. Interesting. Oh, well, oh, I've done that before. Oh, I've reacted like that before, and it's you know, and it's fascinating because my soul is so developed and so advanced, and then my human self is like doing all this.
Well, and that's what I love too, like talking to people like this, because they're so connected and in the lifestyle, like living in it, you know, it's not a, it's just okay. It's like, for instance, a lot of people talk about that, you know, and I've said this and I believe it, and I'm not saying I don't believe it or believe it now. I'm just trying to make a point here to expand that we're going to be put to work, that there's going to be all these people out there that are going to need our help.
Yes.
And I've always believed that whatever somebody receives is meant for them. It's meant for them. And so maybe that feeling or that knowing that we're going to help all these people somewhere down the road is actually already happened. It's already occurred. It just didn't happen in the way that we thought it had to happen in the old paradigm. So your whole journey, you and your partner's journey, you know, each step of the way is like blasting this new code, this transformational new creation code out into not only the earth, but to all the universe.
Mm.
And you know, maybe that's how it's going to go. Maybe we're not going to, the lady that was on earlier, Sadia, she was like, she made this really incredible post like last week. And then she hit me up and said, I want to come on the show. I'm like, I knew it, you know, like, 'cause she didn't want to, she never wants to come on the show. But she said in her post, it was so powerful. And it was like Morgan's post. It was inspirational.
Mm.
And she said, I finally realized that I am not here to save anyone, that I am not on a mission, you know, and it was like a lioness energy. She just said, I'm here to, I think she had a picture of her son, and she said, I'm here to, you know, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to do things that I like to do. I'm going to run my meditation group, and I'm going to, these things I like to do, but I'm not there sacrificing, and, you know what I mean? It's like maybe the work has been done that we know was to be done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. Absolutely. That it's like sometimes I feel when I walk around, go to the grocery store or to the post office, or I go to a cafe or something, especially when I walk alone and meet strangers, and once in a while also with a friend, it's like I just realized that it's like my whole aura, Merkaba, whatever we call it, light body, it's like I bring, because I've been doing quite a bit of inner work, it's like it's just being exchanged or transferred. And you know, it's the same for me. It can be an exchange coming back from somebody else. It's like I feel it, and it's almost like I see it. It's like or auras or light bodies, whatever we call it. It's like they communicate. It's like the soul is communicating, and the human mind or whatever, we in a way we have no clue. We try to mentalize it, and we try to spiritualize it and put it into all these theories, but in a way I'm like, wow, I can just feel that a lot of things are going on energetically.
That's the
And
flash,
I
right?
have no clue really what's going on.
Yeah, Sadia on the previous show, she said, I wonder if the big event, the solar flash, is going to come from here.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, well, maybe it's coming from here in like situations like you're describing, because, you know, another thing that had kind of come into my field a few days ago was there's only one law, and that is the law of equal energy exchange. Equal energy exchange to me is what you're describing. It's that Vesica Pisces. It creates that womb of the Vesica Pisces, and then the third energy is born.
Yes.
And you're right too, because it's like you don't even know what happened. You don't almost like you don't even know how you did it. No. It's because it is genuine. And it is, like you said, the innocence and the, you know, like you were talking about with the intimacy. Like
it's like if we manage to kind of just let the mind just flow, and all the thoughts and whatever, let it just go by without trying to make even more systems, and observe. Like last 2-3 years, I've also noticed that when I sit with people, they start crying, and then some of them will say, oh my gosh, there's so much energy coming from your heart. And I'm like, the most sensitive ones, and I'm like, oh, what? Yeah, it's like a flow of energy coming from your heart, and I have no idea. You know?
Isn't that I mean, isn't that the big
start crying, you know, and they sit and they just cry like a little bit, and I just sit there, and the less I do, the more powerful it is. The less I go up in my brain and get involved in their story about their daily life or their challenges, the less I do, the less I say, it's like it's more powerful.
Yeah. Like
And I know
is it,
that, of course, other people are sending something to me, but it's just,
is it
yeah.
like the less instruction, the more it happens? I mean, is it like becoming less talking? Like, I mean, I don't know, but it's definitely something's changing. I mean, I've talked to enough practitioners, and I think I remember it starting in like right at the end of the year of I want to say 2019, started to change, and like we got into 2020, and that whole yogi guru type thing started breaking down, and practitioners would come on and they would say, the clients are changing, my modalities are changing. You know, I mean, and I think again, there we go with, you know, that evolution that we've gone through, that maturity that's occurring as we're letting go of the spiritual gifts, you know, and the spiritual property that we have, that's ours. I downloaded it, you know, I created Soulogy or whatever the case is, and it's not like that. You know, it's not. This isn't mine. This isn't. I'm just part of this, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
we're part of the co-creation.
Yeah.
Even though some people can say to me that I'm sending something, I just know that we are co-creating. We are exchanging on some level. Even when I walk on the street and I just look for 20 seconds into the eye of a stranger, I just know.
Yeah.
If we hold that gaze for like 20 seconds or something, you know, it's something happening. And it's just amazing. And I do a little bit of sound healing, like a physical event here in my hometown. And I also enjoy that so much. Because I'm not talking. I sit with a gong and I use my voice intuitively and light language. And I just leave it up to the souls, my soul and the souls of the group to co-create.
Yeah.
And it's powerful. I just know it is powerful. I have no idea what's going on with them, what changes they go into. I don't care. It's like, I just know that we are exchanging something.
Right. Wow.
It's I just love it, and I love to be in that. I love to be in that. To just co-create without understanding anything.
Yeah, there's something about the spontaneous, you know, there's something about, you know, the human stepping up and not making excuses anymore. You know, like we were talking about on the previous show too, about embarrassment. Like she came on like you did, like a couple of years ago, and I asked her a couple more times, and she'd say no. First she'd go yes, and then she goes no, I can't, and then she finally came and said I can't ever go on again. Now she was telling me today how she had this great experience, that she stepped through fear and she had this great experience, but she didn't want to come back on. But then her soul told her she's coming on.
Yeah.
She reached out to me. I stopped reaching out. Me and Morgan stopped reaching out to her. We love her to death, but we just knew she didn't want to do it. But we were talking about it and we were saying, well, what is that? It's that embarrassment, right? That self-consciousness that we're not enough. And what is really beneath it, the shame, right? So this is such a powerful couple of shows today because they really fit together. Because what is more shameful than what happened to you, what happened to Morgan at 3.5 years old, right? Both of you. And then, of course, to deal with the shame of the family, right? And somehow or another, that's, you know, the seed of the transformation, and you're stepping out and you're stepping out and you find yourself in these situations like you described where you just start doing the light language and the souls do the rest, right?
Yeah, and like when I think it was yesterday or the day before, I started to have this fear or like thought in my head that, oh, why do you want to share your story about
Yeah.
trauma with on Soulogy? Your story is like it's nothing compared to what Morgan went through or all these other women went through. And then I was just observing the thoughts and how my ego was trying to make my story into like it wasn't worth anything. And then I was like, I am gonna be on that show, and my story is just as valuable as like any other story.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I said this on the last show, last couple of shows, I was talking about how I had to go through these 200 messages and people want to come on the show. And I sent standard responses telling them that this is what we're looking for. And today I got one, a new one came in, and it was, and I'm not picking on anyone. It's just not on this platform. I'm just trying to make a point. And I'm not judging. I'm just making a point. And so it was this really long letter, and it was a form letter to shows like this, I guess, telling me all the great things and all this and that. And I wrote back and I said, our frequencies don't align. We're looking for the human. We're looking for the human with the multidimensionality, but with the emphasis on the human, the transformation. And if that resonates, write me back. But quite a few people didn't. But I think this is what's happening. I think we've been out here looking at all the woo-woo, and it's really the human having to face, not in a bad way, but having to face their life, themselves. And it's the same thing as the family reaction. We don't want to face it. We're in fear. We're in fear because we don't want to face it. Because if we face it, we're going to have to admit something or be labeled something.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, and it's freaky. It's crazy. There's a lot of people, expanding, that you can see are obviously expanding, like stories like yours. And then you see people that are like, I'm not going to say walking on water, but that maybe been doing this for many, many years consistently. I think of like Patricia Cota Robles or Franco or, and then you see people really struggling, but in some way it's all the same.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, like the soul can't be hurt. You can't hurt your soul. The soul, it's the human that's affected, and we've just been looking at it in a different way than
soul is eternal. I mean, I have had so many lives here on Mother Earth and on other planets in other galaxies. I mean, I know that I'm eternal as a soul. It's just my human vessel is this person, Sophia, here. She gets into affair when it's something, once in a while, and sometimes very often, and it's okay.
And okay. I love what you said too. I really did, because it really speaks to the truth and facing the truth. And that is that you said, sometimes I like to do things really fast. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. Let's get it over with. But we're talking about the human, not the human as like, we're just going to throw it in the trash can, but the human is actually the soul. I mean, it's just the only reason we're not teleporting right now and having dinner on Venus is because we're looking at the human as this meat suit that we're going to throw in the trash can. This is the soul. And the fact that you said, so it's going to take time. Well, I have time.
Yeah.
That's the soul talking. That's the soul talking.
Yeah, it is.
I just don't even know what to say. I mean, you're like, did you go into victim consciousness when this happened?
Maybe difficult for me to see that. I know I did it with my illness. So for a good while. So I have a feeling that maybe I experienced it with the sexual trauma. I feel more that since I had been into the victimhood with the illness, it was like I didn't have to be much there with the sexual trauma.
I got you.
But I mean, I cannot observe myself from the outside in that way. So
no, I got you. That makes sense.
I think actually it was, and anyway, all the energies, I mean, with the energies since 2012, especially 2012, things go faster and faster anyway. We get a lot of support from these higher and very intense energies. So of course my ego once in a while is like, oh, this takes time and I would like to be in this phenomenal sexual co-creation.
Right, exactly, right. Like two teenagers bouncing around the room.
But then again, I'm like, I really got to practice through my illness, because it took for the ego or for the human, it took so long to heal from that illness. So I think that I've graduated a little bit in that kind of patience.
Wow. So did you want to do some light language or anything? I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on you. I just didn't know if you mentioned that I don't always do that. I'm just saying, because you'd mentioned how you do that, and how the souls just kind of take over. I'm not really sure exactly what you said, but you said you meet with people and sometimes you do light language and sometimes you do something else. Or if you
I would love to take allow light language to come through, and yeah. Irakushte kamara itaruku, erakiano kusha, arikiana kuashuru, I arukumashuru, esh arakumashu, ikara inaki umakara, esra ukumashuru, utara inaku, eshterekina ama ukushuru. Ererekinamaku uara ki este ad ukuma atara ukumashu iara nokumai iro ukama ush iri inaku amaki I uma uku eshara ukma earo ukeme ura mia etara ukma kumomomoe tetetau ushru mairu kuma ere kinamashuru ukma etara kiana mer kina kushu Akama uku. Era ushu. Ikama ukama. Ina kust etar ikere nama shuru. Shur, 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 shur. Pest ena kuka. Era kana kushura. Eka. Noro. Mea. Ukamara. Itaraka. Esharaku. Mekana. Kuma. This is a deep clearing of the 3 lower chakras. Allow, receive, integrate. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. What a collaboration. What two amazing collaborations today. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you for being in divine service, Todd and Morgan. Thank you so much from my soul to your soul. I see you. I honor you. I love you for who you are.
I love you too. Wow. We'll have to do this again sometime once we get past all these other ones.
Yeah.
But wow. And if you and your partner want to come on, that'd be awesome. That's just fascinating to be able to have the experience that you've had and that you're having together. I mean, I just feel like, you know, I picked up so much information and code these last 2 shows, and like today, just this thing that's going to stick with me forever is this whole thing about time. Like just the way you said that, you know, you just said it's going to take time, and oh, I got time, but it was so relaxed and matter of fact. And then of course the emphasis on the human, you know, like the way you it's almost like, I don't know how to, you know, people have been talking about how they recently, how they're like their soul standing outside the body and they're watching the human. And you kind of said that in your story, you alluded to that. And, but it's like the way you talk about it, I think, okay, because I remember, because I started, my first 2 years were kind of rough, you know, being homeless. And I remember my soul coming in and just told me, do not make excuses, do not lie to yourself, and do not blame anything external of you on anything. And of course, there was a lot of stuff to work out. But my point is, my soul, it was tough love. My soul said, this is the brutal honesty of the soul. So what I'm trying to say is that what I'm getting from you is how you nurture the human, but you don't let the human get away with anything. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. You are holding the human, which is you, accountable, but the way that you describe it, the way that you nurture it is I think it's pretty amazing. Personally, I'm gonna try to apply that to myself. So thank you. And thank you for your incredible service. And thank your partner. What's his name?
Camilillo Frapatia. He has also changed his name.
I'm not even going to try to spell that one. I was gonna get his name and find him on Facebook and try to get him to get you guys to come on. But yeah, well, talk to him and see if he wants to come on, and we'll leapfrog you, because I think it would be a really great show. And if not, you and I will get together again, you know, maybe end of the year or first of next year or something. But I am just amazed. I don't want to leave, but thank you so much. all blessings to you and your beautiful partner. And I wish you the very best. I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy for you. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you.
You're welcome. Very welcome. And I guess I'm going to go lay down on the couch for the next 18 hours after these 2 major downloads.
Enjoy.
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.